Okay, guys, here we are. We're back. Welcome to the podcast. We got Neil and say your name again.
Jarrod.
Jarrod. Okay, cool. And these guys are bodybuilders that I met going to Eastside Gym in Redmond, and they're huge. So I was like, "Hey, do you guys want to do this podcast?" So here they are. You guys just went to a lift today too, right?
Yeah,
Are you
just
just?
got done.
Yeah. What'd you hit?
Chest and shoulders.
Chest and shoulders.
Yeah,
The
we
arms.
field trip to another gym, not at Eastside,
Oh, where'd you guys go?
to Ironworks.
Ironworks. Where's that one?
That's off of Northrop.
Okay, no,
Bellevue?
I've actually never been to that
You
one.
like it?
It's pretty
Okay.
solid.
You guys go to Big Iron Gym a lot too. That
We
one.
have been, yeah. That's kind of why we went to Ironworks, is to shop around for one that's similar but a little closer.
Okay, yeah.
Not
And
quite
that
as
one's
far.
similar to Big Iron.
Pretty close. Yeah, it's got a lot of the same cool equipment and whatnot.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah, because I think Big Iron's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I used to go over there a lot for my leg days and stuff, and just lately I haven't been because I've just been working a lot and stuff. But
Yep. It's a trek for sure.
it's a little bit of a drive. But I see that you guys kind of road trip. I noticed.
Yeah.
So that probably makes it better,
Try
like
to
just
make
get
it
a.
fun.
Yeah, that is fun, man. So let's start with tell everybody what age you guys are, and then how long you've been lifting.
I want to hear you guess his age before we say it.
39, 38,
Well, bro, hey, fist bump on that.
38,
I'll be 51 November 2nd.
51. No
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I always liked that. That was like yesterday. That dude Josh, the musician, was just like, when I said I was 36, he was like, "What?" I thought he's like 26. He thought I was that age. So
Yeah,
I hope I'm like when I'm 50, I do the same thing. Like someone's like, "You're 39." Yeah.
People
Yeah.
always think I'm like 10 years older than I am.
You got the opposite, don't you? Because you're
It's-
fucking huge.
and
Yeah.
then-
large with a
Everyone
beard.
thinks-
Yeah.
Well, you got the beard going. You're
Yeah.
jacked. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, this guy must be older." What are you? 26,
27.
27. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
30 years doing it for me.
that's
About a
amazing
decade
too.
For me.
On Instagram, I don't know if you guys know that Jack West dude. He's one of those dudes around here that has like high numbers on Instagram or
Yeah, I know
whatever.
what you're talking about. Yep.
But he's a huge dude. But I was like looking at his post today, and it was something like, always remember why you started. And he's like 8 years in, and I was thinking like, God, I've been lifting since like 2003. Like some of these kids are like, oh, I'm 3 years in and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, yeah, it is like, damn, I'm getting old. Like, I've been lifting since like 2003. It's like, holy shit.
That's nothing.
Yeah, look at this guy. He's like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Damn, man. How many years then has that been you've been lifting?
Well, I just say 30, but I've been training since I was 15. So if you
Okay.
want to do the math, it's more like 16 years or
Yeah.
36 years.
Because
But-
before that, it was like sports.
It's crazy to think about. Yeah,
It is crazy, man. Yeah,
I graduated high school early, and was off into college when I was like 16. So I never really had the sports.
Yeah. So you
I
weren't.
was a real late bloomer. Like
Okay, so
I
you
grew
got
like
into
two-
lifting later. It wasn't like through sports or anything. It was just
No,
like,
I started lifting weights because
was it a hobby thing when you started?
Yeah, when I was 15, 16, I
Yeah.
muscle and fitness, and I watched
I was-
Pumping Iron.
I was gonna say, who were like the heroes? Like, there's like everybody has the heroes that I watched a lot of like Rambo movies and stuff when I was a kid.
Frank Zane, all the old school bodybuilders was kind of my era because I was mid 80s. They were still well known.
Yep.
Like Frank Columbo,
Hmm.
of course Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, yeah.
Everybody in the Pumping Iron movies, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pumping Iron movie.
Well, in like the
then-
80s, everything was like huge. So, you had yeah, I mean, even wrestling, like everybody was fucking huge. I was a pro wrestling fan. So,
Yeah.
so that's like, so you started seeing that stuff, and that's kind of what made you want to get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't start putting on weight till I was mid 30s.
Yeah.
And hell, I started growing till I was 40.
It's hard to put on size
It's hard
sometimes,
to put on
right?
size, yeah, and just to stay with it. And then I watched him. He's got great genetics, perfect biomechanics, structure, and even how he lifts.
Yeah.
Sometimes he doesn't even know when he's lifting how perfect it is, and I noticed it.
Wow, yeah.
Before we started hanging out, and then he asked me. He goes, "Hey, can you be my posing coach?" For the
Yeah.
show, and then that
And
was,
when was your
that was a year ago, almost today.
that was your first show
Almost
too?
Exactly, yeah. Yes. Yep.
Okay, that's sick, man. And where was that at?
That was all the way in southern Idaho. What was the name of the town?
Oh, shit.
Somewhere in Idaho.
So back in
Somewhere
Idaho?
in Idaho.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the sister shows for. You know much about bodybuilding?
Not
Like
really.
on the amateur stuff.
No, not at all. Honestly, like the reason I got into lifting is because I love pro wrestling, and so
Yeah.
it was like I was in college.
You do great at it.
Well, that's the thing is, so like I did. I was like 24, and I was in college, and I was like I got a 2-year degree, and then I was headed to get a 4-year degree, but I was like, fuck this, I'm gonna become a pro wrestler. So I just like stopped going to school, and I like went and found this wrestling school. And so I did that from like 2008 to 2016. And so that was why I got so into lifting, and then also I think, growing up, being born in the 80s and like, we had like the Stallone movies and like, I don't know, that shit was just so cool. Like you want, it's like you want to just like look like a Marvel character or something, it's like there's part of you that like just always wants to do that, so.
What's even the process of becoming a pro wrestler look like?
So for that, I'm from Iowa, so that's, Midwest. I was in school, going to school probably like an hour from home, from where I lived, and so I stayed there when I decided to not go back for the 4th year of school, and I started driving to this small town called Algona, Iowa, because I had found this school called Impact Pro Wrestling, and the coach there was Travis Shillington. And he was a guy that had trained with Brad Rangans, who was like you probably wouldn't know that name, but he was a legitimate collegiate wrestler, so he had like legit ability too. But then he got into pro wrestling later, and then he was one of the guys that trained. I don't know if you remember Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig at all, but he was like a guy. He'd always like throw the towel behind his back and catch it. Like he was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. But like, so Travis had good credentials of he had. Trained with Kurt Hennig, and he'd been trained by this guy, Brad Rangans, who was really well respected. So, picking that school was like, and then I talked to him, and it felt like a good fit. And then I would just drive there from, like, the place I was in college. It was like a 2-hour drive, so, like, every weekend I would just drive there and stay there, like, maybe Saturday and Sunday, and then just train. And then it was just, Travis was the trainer, and he'd run you through stuff, and so, and then some weekends you'd be like, oh, man, I don't want to fucking go. And then you'd, like, still go, and then, like, then you'd find somebody else that was also going who, like, could carpool that lived close by you. And then so it was a lot of, like, crazy shit, like, almost dying on the road, like, in the snow. And
sorry to hijack your interview, but what is the training like for pro wrestling? Is it basically like bodybuilding?
Honestly, when I first started, I just got as like jacked as I could, and I was like, not very mobile at all, but they're like, oh, you look fucking huge, and I had like long blonde hair at the time and shit, like bleached it and all that. But
they're looking for a look more than.
Well, I had that look.
Even how you train, like even the wrestling I notice now, they're not. They're performance artists. They're really not fit, but they've got that charisma, and they're athletic as. And
some of the best ones.
They're doing double backflips off the side of a.
Oh, that shit's crazy, right?
Like you gotta be. So they gotta have kind of that look. It seems like, and then be really athletic to be able to do like a standing backflip.
Yes,
Or the stuff that you have their athleticism is.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
But yeah, like when I started was 2008, and I was, like I said, I just got really big. They loved it. But then by the time that I was like their heavyweight champion, it was like 2011, 2012. And, by that point we were doing like a lot of county fair. It wasn't like it's a big deal. It was like a small promotion, but it's the longest running promotion in Iowa, and it's one that I really respect, The owner's like one of my best friends. But anyways, by the time I was 2012, when I was like their champion and I had the belt for like 2 years, I was still doing a ton of lifting, but I was doing like a lot. And I was like 100% natural at this point too. Like I wasn't on anything. Like I was, but I was doing a lot of like cardio circuits. I would do this thing I found, like, I don't know if you remember that show, like Spartacus Blood and Sand.
I've seen that. Yep.
Yeah, it was like this old show, and I like found on the internet this like Spartacus workout where it's just like 4 rounds of like 20 reps of each of these type of movements, just like push-ups with the dumbbells where you raise them above your head, kettlebell swing, and I would do like 4 rounds of that after every lift, and I was like, I would just be dying from it. Yeah. But I like was psycho. I was like, I'm gonna do that after every lift, and then I was doing like a lot of box jumps at the time, and then but I was still doing lifting.
Big on those.
But I was doing like, I would do like a lot of like frequency was up. So like twice a week it would be like I'd have my pull-ups in there. Twice a week it'd be like incline bench. Twice a week deadlift. You know, it was like, I shouldn't say twice a week with deadlifts. I think I would hold those off a little more. But it wasn't like a bro split at all. By that point, I found this thing. It was like a lift by this guy named Anthony Michael, actually, who had written this program called like Skinny Fat Ectomorph thing. Like it was like a really basic like program with compound lifts and shit. So I was kind of doing a hybrid of that, then like arm stuff that I just liked, and then
endomorph.
Yeah. So I was just like, that's the shit I was doing by that point, and you know now what I'm doing is totally different. But yeah.
Did you find that the really athletic stuff, the cardio stuff, would impact your recovery from the other stuff quite a bit?
I think you couldn't get as jacked.
Yeah.
Not even close. Yeah. You know what I mean? And at that point, I wasn't even, you know, I was still trying to be big, but I was more trying to look lean, you know? Yeah.
There's that balance.
Yeah, and be tan as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like.
There's that balance to where you can't, your central nervous system needs to
and I would
calm down because you need that growth hormone.
See, I needed you as a coach then.
And that protein synthesis so you can recover.
Yeah, because I was not doing that. I was being a psycho. I would like get in trouble with my promoter because I'd be like trying to like go to work, go to the gym, and then I'd be late to the fucking show up right before my match, and he'd be like, "What the fuck, man?" And I'd be like, "I had to get my lift in." You know, I was like a psycho. But you're right. If I had known back then more about like diet and the stuff I know about now,
how your body works. And there's a lot of people out there that don't understand what they're doing while they're even doing it. They just know that at least they're moving. Yeah.
And so you guys both train. So talk about your background. What do you guys have? Like, you guys have probably some kind of certifications from places, or like.
He's NASM certified, and he's a personal trainer, and he's very, very good at it.
I know. I've seen you do it. Yeah.
I have a couple of certifications for personal training, and then just 7-8 years of experience.
Yeah, and that's probably even more.
Oh yeah.
And like, as long you've been doing it 30 years.
Yeah, and biomechanics and physics. And then so over the years, working out, you know, my training's evolved way differently, and so is the science of training, though. And a lot of people have gone down that same road. You can even see it in some of the equipment at the gym.
Yep.
But still, the basics are the basics.
Yeah. The basics are still the basics.
There's still certain kind of lifts you got to get in. Yeah. And people, I notice, I call them accessory movements. Mm-hmm. Get way too involved with their accessory movements, and because they think they're going to get a bigger bicep if they do a lot more biceps. But
so are you a guy that likes compound stuff better, functional stuff?
Man, I like it all. I'm more of I like doing more of the accessories. I have not as much since we started training 10 months ago.
Yeah, but you're just saying like bigger. The accessories sometimes they might not even be computing in your body, right? Because like by the time you get to them in your lift, you know what I mean. So unless you're really focusing,
you see it a lot in powerlifters too, where they'll do just about every variation of the big 3 lifts that you can think of, besides the actual lift.
And so, because when I think about compound, and tell me what you think about this, since you obviously, I always think like people don't think of it the right way. Like it's like. Got to be like a clear signal repeatedly, right? Of the same exact phone. So you're sending a signal to like your nervous system, right? So like if you're doing a bunch of different variations, your body's not going to understand, right? So is that kind of what you're talking about?
So your nervous system's reactive to whatever you do to it.
Yeah.
It's not really. You're right, actually.
But they talk about programming static. You know what I'm saying? So unless you're giving a clear signal repeatedly over time. And slowly progressing at that, you're not going to tell your body, it's not going to know what to do, right?
There's an old school misconception, especially in bodybuilding, that you need to confuse the body, which is a ridiculous concept because your body doesn't have an intelligence. You can't confuse it. Your body responds to repetition over and over and over with progression, just like you said.
Okay.
So it doesn't make sense to do a different exercise every single time you train a body part. it makes sense to stay consistent with the exercises that work well for you and fit well with your body, and then gradually strive to increase weight, increase reps, and just progress within those movements. We will stick with the same 4, 5, 6 exercises for each body part for
12, 16 weeks.
Yeah. At least. At least. And we might swap out an accessory here and there, but all the main stuff stays very consistent.
A good example is we need to do a little bit more arm work.
Yep.
So at the end of our workout today, we did 3 or 4 sets of biceps, 3 or 4 sets of triceps.
So you added in arm stuff after your main lifts.
Takes about it.
So today you added some bicep stuff in. Okay.
Just kind of sprinkled some in.
Buy and try. Yeah, just a little bit, because we just do one arm workout a week, and we're like, we should probably stress them out a little bit more than that.
Well, and that's the thing too.
48 hours before a good arm workout, we'll stress them out just a little bit.
Yeah.
They'll be recovered enough to get a good arm workout in.
Okay.
And now we're doing a 4-day split, so we're just taking 3 full days off instead of just 2.
Okay,
just to get a little more rest, because we've been hitting it really hard. It was last winter was a long winter.
Well, I feel like also
he went from 2.
Your recovery time is going to go up, right?
260, but I only went from 200 to 220. But okay,
still.
Well, because I saw when you were at your show, you were very lean. Like, what was your weight at the show?
Oof, you don't want to know.
I weighed in at 189 pounds.
That's insane. And you weigh 260 right now.
About 270 right now.
Okay, because I was like, you look like a whole different. Because I saw that. I was like, I mean, so the next time you do a show, you're going to look insane.
Yeah, the goal is to come in 230s, hopefully on stage.
So let's talk about how did you get into lifting? So you got into it just because you saw like pumping iron and stuff like that.
I like the science of it.
And well, so that's the other thing. Before we go into that, like I was gonna say, I had some people on here yesterday, and we were joking about this misconception that bodybuilders are somehow like not intelligent or anything. And then you come in here, you have like what was it, masters?
2 masters.
2 master's degrees. So it's like and that's probably what drew you into bodybuilding, was probably the science. So you probably, approach bodybuilding in a scientific way. You know what I mean? Like,
my perspective's a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have that intelligence. You have that the way your brain already thinks. Like,
you guys are just as intelligent. I just got some education, knowledge behind it to where how things need to work, but. To be honest with you, a lot of that math goes out the window, and bodybuilding is still...
It's a lot of feel, right?
It's very anecdotal.
Trial and error. I noticed that with calories, too, like trying to bulk, and then it goes up too fast. You got to dial it back. You know what I mean? Like, you're gaining a little too fast. That's what's happening with me. I'm like, I got to find a spot where it's not going up quite that fast, because now I'm just feeling like fat ass.
Just like you were saying, you were talking about an endomorph before.
Yeah.
Endo, meso.
Yeah.
What's it?
Ecto, meso, endo.
Yeah.
Even that kind of metabolic structure for our
do you guys believe? Do you believe in
human
those?
is?
Do you even believe in those, or are they just kind of made
body
up?
Types?
Yeah.
To an extent, I think
it's too.
It's overrated.
Black and white. I mean, there's too many shades of gray to it.
Sometimes I think it's like you just tell yourself something, and it's like that might not be true.
None of us would ever fit that category just because we exercise.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and someone who's overweight and says it's because they're an endomorph, it could just be because they're eating too many calories.
You just might be fat, bro. Yeah, you just might be. You just might like food too much,
I got
right?
Big bones. I hate that one.
No. So how did you get into lifting?
Okay, so for me, most people just sort of assume that I was some type of athlete in high school, played football, wrestled, something.
I mean, I probably would have thought that.
But to be honest, I was a skinny nerd in high school who liked comic books and video games,
and
staying indoors. So I started lifting because I only weighed $130 when I graduated.
Yeah.
And I didn't like being...
Dude, that makes you even cooler in my book. Like, fuck, that's cool as fuck.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
It was to the point where I would... strangers would on the street would tell me to go eat a sandwich because I was so skinny.
Yeah. So you're just like, fuck this.
Yeah, I was really insecure about it. Decided to pour into some research on how to train, how to eat, just to get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of got hooked, fell in love with it. I was working at a supplement store for a long time, sort of as I was training, trying to get bigger.
Yep.
And my manager was good friends with the manager at the first gym that I worked at as a trainer. And he encouraged me to get certified, kind of put in a good word with the manager. Mm-hmm. And then that's what led me to personal training.
Yeah, that's so cool, dude. Like, it's a thing you just like fall in love with it, right?
It is. Yeah. It's a healthy addiction.
It is. It's a way. It's a place to put your addiction. I see that like a lot of people.
Yeah.
I always think a lot of people have the same type of thing. Like they just find something to put it into. Because I work as a bartender, so I see a lot of people come in and they get beer every day. And it's like I'm not gonna judge you because like I understand it's the same thing. This is just how you've chosen to kind of. Like me, I just have put it into like lifting. So it's like it's the same type of thing,
It's true.
But I try to I think like trying to choose a healthy one is better for me.
I'd be an alcoholic if I never can get into work.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Oh yeah.
You'd be crazy too, probably,
Definitely.
huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I would not function without it. I know that.
I can't function if I don't work out.
I would argue that probably the vast majority of bodybuilders that are really, really consistent with it probably have an addictive personality. Pretty much all of them.
I think so too, but also, I mean, don't you think it's probably somewhat part of our genetic makeup as like these animals? Like we have a requirement that we need to like, because if we live in this society that's like it is now, where it's like it doesn't really take a lot to survive.
Well,
you can pretty much you don't have to like
you don't have to get up to not.
But we
die
still
anymore.
probably have that fucking thing in us, but we found a place to like put it,
Yeah. Depends on how big your meniscus is.
Yeah, there's definitely
part of your brain that controls that function.
That's the meniscus.
You really want me to get into that?
Yeah. Let's talk about it, dude.
Let's hear it.
That's the first part of the brain that evolved from when we weren't Homo sapiens yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's our fight or flight, primal get up to not die.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that we had when we had to get up to not die and find food.
Mm-hmm. And that thing still does a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you like see a girl you like or something.
Yep.
That's what it is. It's like either you talk to her or you run away.
Pheromonal response.
Or you freeze. Yeah.
It's from pheromones to olfactor's a big one with the meniscus, and who's not going to look at a big pair of boobs?
And so that's like the thing where, and that doesn't fully develop till you're like what 25 or something. Right?
Oh, it's fully
Or I'm thinking of the frontal lobe or some shit.
Yeah, it's fully developed right when you're born.
Okay.
But
that's the lizard thing, the fight or flight.
It's just a primal part of our existence, and if you don't find something to help negate that, depending on if it's the size of a pea or the size of an almond, like somebody we know that would fire a gun at somebody out their window is the size of an almond, maybe already the size of a pea.
Okay.
So, it's...
Yeah, that's so interesting,
man. When you're working out, when you hit that set or that rep or you're fatigued and you're just done and you got to do another set, what drives you to get there? What's that? What's pushing you besides somebody that you can train with that's going to help you get there? Mm-hmm. And that's part of it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Those are like the best lifts when you can push past that. Mm-hmm. And then you have other lifts. Like for me, I have other ones where I don't get there and I just feel like shit when I go home. Like, God, I should have worked harder. Or like,
you always know when you leave if you did it or not.
Yeah, I hate that, man. Yeah.
For sure.
Somebody said to me, it's never a bad day if you can go to the gym.
Yeah.
But when you hit this level, sometimes it's a bad day at the gym, but at least you got there.
Yeah, some days I'll get there where I just get there too late or something, and then I got to rush to work, and I don't put in the time I wanted, and then it gets in my head, and then I'm like, those days I'm always like pissed, like, God damn, you need to get your schedule better, like.
Or forward to the next day and not even do it and get your head right.
I've done that before too.
Just
sometimes it's better to
just go home and go, you know what? I got more time tomorrow. Yeah. I haven't eaten enough. It's not going to work out.
Yeah, I've definitely done that, and it's sometimes you have to do that, I think.
You do.
Yeah.
For me, I put so much priority on each workout that if down to like every last set, if something doesn't go exactly how I wanted it to, it'll bother me for days. Yeah.
Well, and
keep me up at night.
The amount of weight that you're up to on some of your lifts too is probably like it's something where like you don't want to like go back. You know what I mean? Like
you're always pushing to progress.
Yeah, so you want to stay. So you start seeing you're slipping on something, you probably get pissed off. Like, God damn, how did I?
Even if it's just one rep, you got one fewer rep than you did last week. It's the end of the world in that moment.
I know, man.
That's when cluster sets are sometimes nice, because you don't have to hit that mark. You're like, let's just do clusters and get through this or whatever at another weight.
You familiar with cluster sets?
Not at all.
So basically, you pick a rep scheme. We use four by 8 a lot, so 4 rounds of 8.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of doing 8 reps and then resting and doing a full another set, you do 8 reps, rack it, rest 10 seconds.
Yep.
Do another 8, 10 seconds, another 8, 10 seconds, another.
And are you going down in weight each time?
Same weight.
Oh, same weight. You're just really hammering it.
You try to hit those 8 reps, and then
you pick something that you could probably get for maybe 20 in a row.
Uh-huh.
But by the end of the 4 by 8, you got 32.
Yeah.
So you end up doing a lot more reps than you would have by just doing one set.
Just doing a set of, okay, yeah. That's interesting.
And that's a good way to push past, I don't know, some of the pain, or you don't feel like you're getting big enough, or you're just not moving as much weight as you used to, or you're stuck at a certain weight.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. What do you guys have, like, what is your split like nowadays? Like, so talk about, like, when you started, what style you did, and then, like, you started at 130 pounds?
I did.
So how many years did it take you to start gaining weight, and what did you have to do diet-wise, you know what I mean, to start making, and did you find that yourself, or were you, like you said, you started studying?
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of,
Yeah, man. Well, like any good aspiring meathead, I created a bodybuilding.com account.
Okay.
Which was huge back in the day.
Yeah, the forums and stuff.
Yeah, and I remember going on there and finding some calculator that told you, you know, if you weigh this much, you want to weigh this much in this amount of time. Here's how much you should eat, right? So I did that, figured out how many calories I needed, and then I just started tracking and eating. Yep. Started gaining weight right away.
Yep.
I was over 200 pounds within, probably within about a year.
And what were you doing for lifts? Did you find something cool online, like the bodybuilding forums, and just kind of like...
Honestly, I was doing way too much initially.
Yeah.
2-3 hours in the gym every single day.
Just obsessed with it.
Trying to lift with the volume of Arnold Schwarzenegger when I was 130 pounds, which was a mistake. But we all kind of got to go through that trial and error to find what works, you know?
I think so, too.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's evolved a lot. What we do now is pretty much like a Dorian Yates split.
Yep.
I don't know if you're familiar, but it's only 4 days a week, but intensity is really, really high. Pretty much every working set is to failure with substantial weight. So it's chest, shoulders.
Yep.
Pass failure, 3 to 4 reps.
Yeah. Lots of intensity techniques.
Yeah, and Dorian Yates is just a badass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we got chest, shoulders, back and hamstrings, arms, and then we have legs.
And you know, the 4-day thing with you guys, like, the amount of weight that you're lifting, like, you need recovery time.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like 4 days, but you got to think about, like, I mean, I've seen your Instagram, and that's like a lot of weight. So.
Especially at my age.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man.
At my age.
That's crazy.
Everything hurts more.
With any
recovery time's more for your age.
It is. Yeah. I got to go in before I meet him about 20 minutes.
Start warming up.
Band work, stretch out, just move my joints really well, and my core, so my lower back's good, and make sure my hamstrings are long enough.
Yeah.
So I don't rip one out.
But aren't you glad you're still doing it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, I got a second win after we hooked up.
Well, I think that helps, too. So, like, you probably met people along the way that did that for you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having a good training partner. It's really hard to find someone that's going to have the dedication and that doesn't feed too much energy off of you and not the other way around.
Yeah, where you both...
Like, where are you at? Why aren't you here yet? You know, there's never going to be ever an issue with him not showing up and giving it 100%. So how many workout partners have you had over the years?
Oh, dude, I've had so many friends of mine start and they'll flake out after a week, and you're like,
you meet a girl, they're drunk or they're hungover.
Well, and that's usually what happens the minute they get what they really wanted, which was a girl. You know, then they're done. Which is like, I understand. That's understandable. You know, that's probably why they were lifting, and that's probably subconsciously why a lot of us are lifting is part of it. You know, but yeah, it's just like.
He wants to see me succeed just as much as he wants to succeed, and vice versa.
So there's not somebody. It's not imbalanced. Like you're both rooting for each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the best kind of relationship, I think. Like so one of your friends, you know, does something the worst person is the person that's jealous. You want to be happy for your friends.
It's just bad energy. You've had friends like that over the years. It's like,
I agree.
As you get older, you definitely choose your friends more.
So how long have you guys been lifting together then?
Let's see. Going on a year. Last winter is when it really started. So my show was in November.
Yep.
Then I kind of trained solo, and he trained solo for a month, and we would work out together here and there. And then...
But he's the one that got you your first show?
Yes.
Okay, and how did you find him?
We had met, just sort of in passing at Eastside.
Yeah.
And then...
I just finished a show.
And Eastside's badass. And what age were you at that show, dude?
49.
49? That's sick, yeah.
Yeah. So I knew that he was really into bodybuilding, so I kind of went to him for advice, and then ultimately, like he said, asked him to be my posing coach. Mm-hmm. And then we trained together here and there on the prep, but never consistently.
Yep.
And then after the show is when we really started training, every single day.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we still didn't, quite know if we were going to meet up, mentally, but it worked out, so it's...
Well, I feel like you have to have that, even in wrestling, there were certain people that I worked with that were like, you kind of like, I got to be as good as him because he's like the best, I think. So then when you'd work with those kind of guys, like it brought you up and you brought them up. Yeah. And like, there were certain guys where you knew you were going to have like a super good match with, like no matter what, so.
Yeah, you always want to be training with somebody who pushes you to be better, even if they're not stronger than you or whatever it is. It's not always about weight. It's just...
See, I'm never going to be stronger.
Or, well, who the fuck is, dude? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But it's just about pushing each other and motivating each other to be better.
I can keep up on some stuff.
Yeah.
He has a very high capacity for high reps that's vastly beyond mine.
Yeah, you're like done after, yeah.
I trained like that for years,
you were what, top 10 Ironman or triathlon in the world?
Ironman triathlete. Top 20.
So what is that? What does that consist of? Running, swimming,
biking.
Holy shit!
What are the distances? It's a full marathon.
2.5 mile swim. 480-mile bike.
Damn, dude, that's hard.
26-mile run.
That's a lot. It's crazy.
Closest thing I can think of is I did one of those Tough Mudder things once. 12, one of those 12-mile like.
That's a lot.
Obstacle course where they like shock you and shit and like. There's like all these like.
If somebody was shocking me.
Oh, dude, they're crazy.
Who's doing this to me? And I need to find them right now.
Nah, it's like not even. It's just like things hanging down. Yeah. So if you hit one, you just get fucking zapped, Yikes. But that's not a. I think my cousin does those Ironman things, those triathlons. That's crazy, man.
Well, I trained for years, lifting weights by myself, with not a lot of training partners. So I think I see you do this in the gym. You just pick a weight and you try to go to failure at 26 reps or 30 reps or 19 reps.
Yeah, he has me doing that
reps.
with my arm stuff right now, which is like all new for me. I've no, like he has me running the rack and stuff. Like,
well, like we were just saying the other day, between 6 reps and 30 reps to failure, your muscles bandwidth and the micro tearing is going to be about the same for growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to failure.
Yeah.
There's a recent study actually that shows this. Where like you said, the common denominator is that you're pushing either to failure or just before failure. So
yep.
Maximum muscle fatigue. And when they compared all the rep ranges ranging from 6 all the way to 30, the actual hypertrophy response is pretty much the same. Once you're above 30 reps, that's no longer enough load. And once you're below 6 reps, it's just not enough volume.
Yep.
But that's a big range to work with. For sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's the same from 6 to 30. That's
12 to 22 much. Is what I like to think. Tendon health, ligament health, to keep those malleable and stretched out and working well.
Yes, but so like motion is the lotion type thing, right?
Sets of 6 all the time. I mean, your tendons aren't going to get much work, but your muscle volume might go up, but then your tendons aren't keeping up.
Yep.
So that's why you got it. That's the switch up. I think is.
It just takes you to that next, so it's better for joints and stuff like that, mobility.
So I've been lifting heavier with him because we go past failure, and like on incline press, he'll make me do 275.
Yeah.
I can barely do 4, but he'll make me do 8.
But that's fucking impressive. You know what I mean? Yeah. I saw you doing like 4 plates on both sides, so.
Yeah.
That's like really fucking insane, you know.
Like 4 or 5 for what 6 or 7 on my own.
Yep.
And then 3 or 4 with his help.
Is that? What's like? Is that normal?
That might be a world record.
I'm like, is that? I mean, I don't know if I've ever really seen
like
guys do it.
He's probably top 1% of 1% of one of the strongest guys.
I guess I've seen dudes
I've ever met or even read about. I mean, just on just how his.
So right here on the podcast, everybody, we got one of the most elite lifters.
You'll see him on the Olympia stage by the time he's 30.
I believe it. I've seen. Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. Is that even normal? Like I see dudes doing 315 on incline press, but like that's not what you're doing.
That's his warm up, bro.
Yeah, I know.
That's not even a.
There's some top level pros right now that train really really heavy in that sort of 405 incline, that same kind of range.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of that kind of stems from my powerlifting background.
Yes.
I competed in powerlifting several times before I stepped on a bodybuilding stage.
Yeah, so let's go back to you started out skinny kid, put on about, what'd you say, and it took you a year to put on how much weight?
Well, I was over 200 pounds. Probably within the first 2 years, I was able to get up to about 240, but it was a
100
sloppy
pounds.
240. Yeah.
Not as good as you wanted to look though.
Not super tight, but
yep.
I was just putting on size at that point.
Yep, didn't care, just wanted to get big.
Now he's stronger now than he was when he was powerlifting.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm saying. So I want to hear about how.
Right.
So you went to powerlifting after, and how long into lifting were you when you decided to start doing powerlifting, and did you do competitions?
Yeah, so let's see. My first meet, I think I was 22.
Okay.
I was still in juniors. So that would have been about 4 years into lifting that I decided to do that.
Yep. So you started out small kid, started lifting. 4 years later, you're like, I'm gonna start powerlifting.
And the first time I competed in powerlifting, I was in the 275 class, and I weighed, I think, 260 something.
Okay.
Kind of right in the middle. Next one I cut down to 242 to be a little more competitive, and then my last couple I competed in at 220 was the class.
And so what drew you to powerlifting? Was there something specific or?
Initially I was more drawn to bodybuilding.
Yep.
But as I was getting stronger, it was just a very simple, quantifiable result. Like, bodybuilding is subjective. Yes. Obviously, in theory, the biggest, most ripped guy wins, but there is a lot of gray areas, right?
It's aesthetics. You know what I mean? It's
down to the judge's preference at a certain point.
Yep.
So what I liked about powerlifting was that it's so quantifiable. Like if
it's a number.
Yeah. If either you can lift 600 pounds off the floor or you can't. And it's not going to move.
It's pretty black and white.
It is. So I like that. That's probably why I decided to go that route over bodybuilding initially. Mm-hmm. And I was just immediately good at it because I got strong really fast.
Yeah. So then you found you had this natural thing for it, huh? Like, because it's like, that's like we said, that's not normal for someone to be able to lift like, an incline bench that much. So like you obviously have genetically some kind of, which is so funny being that skinny kid that you still had like the genetics.
See, that's another reason why.
But you were young too, like.
True. That's another reason why the whole body type thing is sort of BS, and just the emphasis on genetics. Because at face value, my genetics at 130 pounds at 18 years old were terrible.
No one would have came up to you and said, "I bet you could lift." Yeah. And like.
Yeah, if it were all down to genetics, then I shouldn't have been able to do anything.
I honestly think that the longer I'm in it, that whole thing, like you guys were saying, genetics. I just kind of think it's maybe a bunch of bullshit.
Genetics start here.
That's what I'm saying. I think some of it is just like people's excuses.
Except for one thing.
Yeah.
Fulcrum lever.
Yeah, well, lengths of bones. You probably got muscle insertion points, stuff like that.
You take a seesaw, right?
Yeah.
And you move that fulcrum wherever what's going to be on one side than the other. Like, say, 315 to me on bench press with your fulcrum and lever might be 400. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
body mechanics.
So his fulcrum levers.
So there is
this
some.
This is why we started talking, because I watch him
etched in stone stuff.
There is. I watched him lift, and I'd be watching his mechanics and even how he pushes his elbows and how he pushes up underneath through it. There's some nuances to it, but he can move a lot of weight because of how things are attached.
Mm-hmm. I also think genetics.
30% of it, maybe. Obviously, it takes. musculature too. But,
genetics are definitely a big factor in terms of, some people have a genetic predisposition to getting stronger, getting bigger quickly, staying lean. So genetics are a factor, but the thing is, you don't even know what your genetics are until you're like 5-6 years in.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no way to know.
Yeah, I was just like, I guess my point was always, I feel like we put too much of an emphasis on those things and like.
Well, it's an excuse.
Emphasis
right?
on the weight.
I think a lot of people use it as an excuse.
Like,
emphasis on the weight too, and people get frustrated. They're not lifting a lot of weight, but if you drop some basic science on them, I'm like, well, for me that would be this much weight, or, but it goes to effort. Because I could barely do 185 for maybe like 5 or 6 on incline, and now I can do that with 225. I did up to 12 with some force reps.
That's sick. I want to get there. Yeah, that's I want my incline to get better for whatever reason. I've always thought incline was cool. Yeah,
that's a great.
For bench press, I always thought incline was pretty badass. Like everyone loves flat bench, but I'm always like, I'd rather be able to like incline bench a lot.
To be strong in incline makes you a little more of an outlier for sure. It's a little rare.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that a lot of people, it's easy to blame your genetics if you're trying to get bigger and you're not eating enough food, you're not checking all the boxes, and you're not getting bigger.
Water.
It's really easy to point to, I'm genetically skinny. I can't put on weight because of my genetics. It's sort of like, it's an excuse at a certain point, for sure.
I think so too, man. I like, because I always thought that too, like, I gain fat too easy, but it's like, actually, it's just how much you're eating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, actually, once I got the coach and realized how, because when I first got my coach, he cut me, like, and I was like, I could get down to, like, way leaner than I thought. You know what I mean? Like,
we see a lot of guys like on Sunday mornings when we lift at Eastside, getting into powerlifting, and they're getting into deads, and they're about ready to pass out, and they don't feel good. And I ask them, I'm like, did you eat anything this morning? I'm like, no, I haven't eaten since last night.
Yeah.
Or they don't even have any water with them.
Yeah, you got to
And they haven't even had a glass of water. They might have had a cup of coffee, and they're going and working out. Man, I would not even be near a gym.
Isn't that funny?
If I didn't have
but like think
calories in me and half a gallon of water.
Well, that's like why it's so important for like a kid, like you guys were kids when you wanted to do it, like to find a certain coach, you know what I mean, or somebody, or a friend, I think, because like there's probably a bunch of people depending on where they come from, like their background, who their parents are. Maybe their parents have never been into physical fitness at all. They have no idea, but they want better for themselves, so they go out and they try to find that. But like you said, they might not even know that. Like, I have to eat food and drink. Like, they might not know that has anything to do. And it doesn't mean anything negative against them. They just don't know that fact yet.
Less than 10% of everything you do in bodybuilding is in the gym.
Oh, I agree with that.
You're just micro-tearing. It's the sleep, the food, the water. You're going in there for 40 to 60 minutes, breaking shit down. I mean, how do you build it back up?
I think sleep's huge.
Sleep is the number
I've noticed that, like when I've had weeks where I've been something stressful going on or whatever, and not getting. You don't
feel right. Your central nervous system's like, you're like this, kind of like you just don't feel right gut-wise, and you're like, and you go to the gym and you pick something up and you're like deflated.
Especially if you've had a bunch of weeks where you've just been killing it, feeling like on fire, and then really, really proud of yourself, and feel like every lift you've been putting maximal effort in and stuff. And then you hit and I don't know how's that go for you guys. I definitely have like certain weeks. I think it's like this, obviously ups and downs, but.
I mean, we all have weeks when we're feeling more motivated and weeks that we're not. I think the thing that makes a difference is you just remove the choice.
You put the discipline in.
Yeah.
That's what does it. You have to create the habit where even if you're feeling shitty, you still just go do it anyway.
Yeah, it's like not something that you have to think about every day. Like, am I going to go to the gym? No, you just go to the gym.
Like you say, you remove the
And some of my discipline comes to where I got to go train with him.
Yeah.
And so I keep my.
You go train with a fucking beast.
I got to train with him. I got to keep my food, my water, and my sleep good. I can't miss one day because I know even if I got the day off, I got to get ready for tomorrow to work out with Neil. Mm-hmm. So I have to do this all day, go to bed by this time, or I'm not going to be able to train the next day. And so some of my motivation is because I got someone to train.
Well, and that's what I think is important for people is to find a friend or a coach or somebody that's going to like.
Good trainers are hard to find too, and people that think they know, or they've been misinformed and they're giving you the wrong information. We see that a lot of times at the gym.
I imagine that you do. Yeah.
It's like anything, right?
A lot of people too.
There's
nowadays,
a bad therapist, or there's
yeah.
A lot of people too nowadays will just use, Instagram as their coach and just pick the cool looking exercises that they see on the internet and do those, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, and there's not enough consistency to actually progress.
And not teaching.
They just spin their wheels.
So he's good. He's good because he's teaching his clients how to take care of themselves on top of it.
Yeah, is there a certain method that you prefer? Like, do you plan out like deload weeks and stuff like that too, or what's?
Depends on the program. For some of my powerlifting specific clients.
Then you probably did for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. The average person though, it's just consistency, and if their nutrition and their, like you said, their hydration and their sleep and everything is in place, then the average person on a non-powerlifting program doesn't really need a deload.
Yeah, so I noticed like when I'm watching your Instagram stuff, like you've done some Q&As and stuff, like going back to like it all seems very like scientific. Like you have like reason, like you'll have somebody ask you a question and you'll give out like, basically what the science has said, but what it says now, or seems like you're pretty scientific based versus like,
definitely
bro split, bro science. Like it seems like you try to like keep a pretty
bro science
level head with like, it seems like you enjoy the science aspect of it as well.
Bodybuilding is funny because it's always this push and pull between research and science and just anecdotes.
Yeah.
Anecdotal evidence, because a lot of things have worked for professional bodybuilders for decades that might not look like the best thing on paper when you look at all the studies, but it works. And sometimes there is a discrepancy between the science. A lot of it has to do with the subjects of the study, too. A lot of scientific research done in fitness is done on untrained people or obese people, not the demographic that is bodybuilders,
with no nutrition or
well, yeah, you do a study on some people, but they've been eating McDonald's and stuff. Like, how good is that study?
Or drink,
you know what I mean?
Or drink every night of the week.
So
even a couple of beers every night of the week is gonna fuck your metabolism up.
So there are studies that bodybuilders as a demographic just kind of need to throw out the window. There's plenty of anecdotal evidence when you look at any IFBB pro and what they've been doing.
Well, and sometimes I found that sometimes the anecdotal stuff, it's like you can't discount that.
Absolutely
because there's an intelligence of studying books and things like that, but there's an intelligence that comes from people that are actually out there doing this thing.
Absolutely.
And I think through doing the thing, sometimes they learn things and they're not even really aware of what they're doing scientifically. They couldn't go write a paper on it, but they know exactly what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can't discount, I think, even if you like, because I enjoy the science aspect of it a lot. I really just always have, like I always like that Dr. Eric Helms. I don't know if you listen to him, like him and Omar Yusuf, they have a good podcast, but he's a doctor and he's a power lifter. So it's like, he's a physique competitor actually, but and they're both natty and like, they're just like super intelligent dudes.
Yeah.
But like, even them, they won't discount the anecdotal stuff because they know that like the people out there doing things are going to know whether they can, explain it to you scientifically or not. They know what they're doing,
Yeah, and if you listen to any of the actual experts out there in terms of exercise science, all of them have a balance between the two. All of them acknowledge that, it's not black and white. What the study says is always true.
Yeah, and I think all good scientists actually, even in any field, kind of know that. Like, okay, say you're studying something, like, what are these people in this tribe that were studying this thing? Well, they're saying this. There's got to be a reason. Like, they'll look into that stuff. Like, yeah, so.
Even with control groups.
And I know there's been, like, people do this studies of, like, meat causing cancer and stuff, but it's like, who are they? They're, like, including people that eat McDonald's and shit every day. So it's like, how true is that?
From family history over what's causing what.
Yeah. Well, if you do a study and it's got like McDonald's and processed food in it, but so how do you know that like that's not the reason it's causing cancer? It's not the meat. You know what I'm saying? There's
a big difference between
grass-fed, fucking good organic meat and like
chicken nuggets.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So sometimes, it's like you can't always.
That's just kind of a duh moment. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to create an immunocompromised situation, and the cells are going to propagate. Abnormal cells. So too many variables involved. And so like he's saying, there's too many variables involved in taking one person that might get 1 more hour of sleep and that's 6 years younger, that's drinking a gallon of water a day, and they're doing the exact same workout.
Yeah.
That's getting the right nutrition, and one's eating McDonald's and one's not. Let's just throw that in there, right?
So
how do you
So when you're doing studies,
it's never apples to apples.
Yeah.
No.
Ever.
Yeah.
So what's the first thing you do, like, when you get a client? Is that, like, your first go-to things, like, start with, like, food, nutrition, sleep? Like, do you ask them, or, like...
Yeah, it depends on where they're at. So pretty much everybody I tell to just tackle, one of the big boxes at a time.
Like, drink a gallon of water a day or something.
Yeah. And we're talking, assuming the person hasn't built any of these habits yet. It's very overwhelming to throw 5 different things at them that they need to do every day.
So you start small.
Yeah. So normally nutrition is where I'll start, or if they've never set foot in a gym before, I'll just try to get them on a consistent routine.
So that it's one thing at a time.
Yeah, just tackle one thing at a time, nail it down for 2 to 3 weeks, move on to the next thing. Absolutely.
That makes sense, because I feel like a lot of people they try to do a bunch at once, and then they do it for a week and they quit because it's too overwhelming.
Yeah. 100%.
Baby steps.
Yeah, you just got to add a little bit at a time, right?
Yeah, it's super common. I see it all the time where people try to do too much, and then because it's overwhelming, they end up doing none of it, ultimately.
Okay.
So it's better to just master one thing, move on to the next, and then by the time you've checked all those boxes, you've actually built the habits to keep doing it.
And that takes, about a year with a client?
To build a good habit?
For most people, yeah.
Is there a lot of people that you have trouble where, like, do people get mad at you about not getting results, but they're not actually putting the work in, as far as, like, because I feel like there's a thing where sometimes people think because they purchase something that's magic somehow, that because they paid you, I will now be in shape, but they don't realize that means actually changing their lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's probably hard to tackle sometimes, because I think sometimes people don't actually want to change their lifestyle.
Yeah.
But they still want results, and it's like that doesn't actually work.
That's very true.
You can lead a horse to water.
Yeah, that's very true, and a great point. For me personally, I don't encounter that too much with my clients, and some of that is just kind of my branding. I mean, the actual legal name of my business is No BS Training, so.
So you kind of put that out there right away.
It's going to attract a certain demographic.
Like, I'm not going to fucking sugarcoat this. Like, okay.
Yeah, and I just try to be really upfront with them. Like, these are the things that you need to do, and this is what you can expect if you do them, and if you don't check the boxes, nothing's going to change.
Sometimes there's just not a fit.
Yeah.
Can't help somebody if they can't help themselves.
Yeah, sometimes it's not a fit.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like that's a thing with training that I've seen, like.
Yeah.
Or it's the same thing as wanting a magic pill to get you in shape, or people have a lot of misconceptions about that kind of stuff, I think. So
totally.
Embrace the horror. It's got to get done.
Yeah.
Well, and you probably enjoy it being hard lifting is probably enjoyable in a sense, right? Like,
when you're done.
Isn't it kind of, I mean, even during a little bit though, isn't it kind of fun, the pain? Like,
ultimately, it's what's rewarding about it, right?
Yeah.
Not on leg days.
Dude, leg days can suck. Yeah.
Well, every day before leg days, I get butterflies in my stomach and I want to throw up.
Or like you're just like, man, maybe I shouldn't go today. Like, I gotta go. Okay, yeah.
No, that's not a thought in my head, but I just know what I gotta get done to get to that part. That especially because my legs, they're growing, but it's
hard.
It's hard, but they are ripped and striated and veined out. But I have a hard time. I don't carry any body fat on my legs, even if I'm at like 11 or 12%.
Okay.
Right, but to get size
on them,
what I've got to do to them is ridiculous.
I mean, I think every leg day I'm the same way. I'm just like dreading it. I'm like sitting in the car like, fuck, all right, I gotta go in there.
Just start with the first
it's like
set.
I can't puss out. I did this weight last week, so I have to do it again this week. Like.
I mean, I'm rubbing my knee right now from last Friday.
Oh, both my knees are. Yeah. They always kind of like have a little. Yeah. I'm always like, my knees are good.
Yeah. For me, what I compare it to for people is like, that nervousness, those butterflies you get right before a big session. it's kind of like, my source of adrenaline, right?
Yeah, it's fucking good for you.
People, you have like adrenaline junkies who like to ride roller coasters and they get that same sort
of
fear.
100%.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like.
Getting underneath.
That's like what you live for, though.
1,400 pounds on the leg press is the same kind of feeling, I think.
Dude.
Except more extreme, for sure.
Yeah, it's like, that's what makes life good, right? Like, imagine if you never had that. You never had any kind of like adversity in your life to like just how boring that would be. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't do that. Like,
yeah, there's something about getting underneath a weight that could easily crush you and end your life that makes it a little more rewarding.
Well, I think you know that more than anybody with the amounts that you're lifting. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what the fuck does that feel like, man? Just like,
I will say,
scary.
What do we do? 1,400 pounds on leg press?
Something like that.
Yeah, you got...
It's over 1,200.
I got 20 reps. You got 24?
24, 25.
25 reps. Yeah.
Fuck, man.
James got 24.
Something like that, yeah.
I remember seeing that thing you posted, like Dorian Yates, like... Some guy like said, "Oh, your form's bad" or something. He's like, "Oh, thanks for the," you know what I mean? I was like,
"Yeah."
I get that shit too because I don't know. Like my coach has me doing like.
Who's your coach?
So it's Jordan Hubbard. So he does renovation fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like him, but it's like so sometimes you'll be doing something and it's like you're doing it just the way your coach wants you to. People be like, "Oh, the form's wrong. That's bad." And it's like, yeah, but he wants me to do it this way for a specific reason that you don't know about.
Form is a very individual thing.
Yeah.
What kind of lift?
Well, that is like so it's like doing leg press, but you're trying to keep it like in your hamstrings. You know what I mean? So it's like you're higher up on it and you're not going all the way down.
You're partialing out high up.
Yeah. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I think too. And you get all these shitty comments from these like fucking trolls online, and I'm like, motherfucker. They're like, "Oh, nice quarter rep, bro," and it's
I used to post my workouts quite a while ago online, and I'd stopped.
Yeah.
Because it's
trolls.
Like, have you ever been in a gym? I mean, do you even know?
Well, so I mean, I don't think they know what they're...
respond back because it would be a whole entire book on why.
Yeah.
Man, I've been finding this like a lot with like just the internet in general, like you know, like so like Metallica did a song with Miley Cyrus. They did Nothing Else Matters. It was great, I thought. You know what I mean? But like every Metallica fan that's like a troll. Why are you doing that with the fucking Miley Cyrus? You know, like they hate it and they shit all over it.
Yeah. So
and it's
we
like
probably think that's cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think it's cool. I mean, you got these guys that you grew up watching Metallica. They're like one of my favorite bands, and they're in their 60s and still relevant enough in their career to be with like an artist that's as big as Miley Cyrus with Elton John, like telling him it's a great. You know, like come on, like that's cool. They're on Howard Stern with Miley Cyrus, like.
That's cool.
You know, and then then I see another thing like
with Aerosmith with Pink. You know?
Fuck yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah,
you know, it's crossover shit, but it's like people just like to hate on shit. You know, I saw like another this band Megadeth. The bass player got let go because of some fucking incident that happened, or you know, and he started another band and posted some shit. And I saw the comments on that too, and I was just like, I listened to the songs; they're both great, but you know, they just shit all over it. And all they did is post a bunch of pictures from his like. He got caught sending nudes to some girl or something, and that's why he got fired. And I'm like, this is like the society we live in now where like these pictures that shouldn't even be any of our business, and now they're making memes out of them, you know, like it's like just trashing this guy. I'm like, this is shitty.
I think one of the bad things about social media is it's very easy for people to just leave negative comments now.
On everything.
Behind the...
And there's no
protective wall of their computer screen, or their phone.
Cowards.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't get a lot of that. I think Instagram's pretty good. Like, you probably, when you post your stuff lifting that amount of weight, you probably get mostly positive shit.
It's, you know, it's 90% positive.
There's always something.
There's always something, but
Who's that jackass you're working out with?
Shit, yeah, they're just shitting on you. Yeah, no.
No, it's like, it's usually form stuff or, just stupid comments. One of the hardest things is to, you know, train yourself to ignore that.
Oh, I think you have to, right?
Comment and choose to focus on the 15
good
positive ones. Yeah.
I was gonna say when my band put out our EP, it was like that too. It was like overwhelmingly positive, but like maybe 20% just negative, but it was really hard to not focus on that 20%. You know, like somebody's like, wow, amazing, you know, because I was the singer, amazing vocals, blah, blah, but that one person was like, it sounds like he's screeching or something. Like, what'd you fucking say? Yeah. You know, like, yeah.
It wants me to science the crap out of them. Like, you need an education, but I'm not the one to give it to you, but it sucks that I got to read it.
Well, it's like, I think, like, I love how Dorian Yates was just like, yeah, thanks for the tip, mate, or something. He just said, like, I love that. Like you said, it's not your job to like, I could, but then I'm going to look insecure, so I'm just not going to say anything. I'm not going to reply. Yeah. So going back to this, so I was talking about my band. Another interesting thing about, like, you got, 3 meatheads in a room, but, like, you said that you had a band as well and played music and sang.
Yeah, I've been in and out of a handful of bands. I played bass in a couple. Most recently, I just played with a drummer and just sang and played guitar. Mm-hmm. And I've also done some solo gigs as well. Just
acoustic guitar, vocals?
Actually, I had more of like a full, like a one-man band kind of setup.
Yep.
So I had a pedal that would send a sub-octave of what I was playing on my guitar to a bass amp.
Nice, so you had a little bass in there.
I could click bass on and off, and then I would pound on a kick drum as I performed. So it's a little more of a fuller sound than just.
Dude, who would see you in the gym and be like, this guy fucking plays music?
Yeah, how many guitars do you have?
Oh, I don't even know.
Lots.
Dude, that's fucking sick. Okay, I need to come see your guitar collection.
A whole third of my apartment is basically dedicated to my guitars, so it's. Yeah,
see, that's what I'm saying out there, people listening. Like, this misconception that weightlifters are a bunch of dumb idiots. Like, it's not true.
I can't believe that's still a thing after all these years. It was very relevant in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. It makes sense, I guess. It's what people think. Stereotypes, Yeah. But yeah, no, that's fucking cool, man. Like, did you play stuff before COVID, and are you thinking about playing more stuff after? Or are you more focused right now on the lifting, or?
Yeah, so I was playing a bunch of shows before COVID, and actually, when everything first closed down, I did a whole bunch of recording. I kind of took advantage of that time to record a bunch of original music.
And where can people hear that?
It's on Spotify.
Yeah.
If you search for Neil Hunter Austin.
Neil Hunter Austin on Spotify. Okay, so check that out.
Yep. And then, obviously in the last couple of years, bodybuilding has definitely taken priority over just about everything.
Now, is that hard to balance? Can you balance that if you were going to do? Because I know, like, I found it hard. Like, I ended up quitting my band, for many reasons. But, like, I felt like I couldn't balance it all,
You can't in any serious way. If I were to go back into it, it would be, a show every couple months or something like that. I would not be able to devote the time and passion to it to actually.
That's what I mean.
Pursue it.
Yeah, because I felt like I was shortchanging my band because they. Wanted to be, and we were taking it very serious, and we recorded that EP, which I'm proud of, but it was like, I needed to, like, pick one, because if we were going to make it in that band, I would have had to put all my energy into that.
Bodybuilding and being a musician are both very, very tough career paths.
At the same time, too.
Yeah. It's very egotistical to think that you can be as good as you can be at both simultaneously.
The only guy I can think of that does both really well is the professional wrestler Chris Jericho.
Okay.
Because he has the band Fozzy, and then he still is a professional wrestler. He wrestles for AEW, and he's the lead singer. Yeah. And it is awesome, but I think the reason he can do it is because his band is so good, and he's just the singer.
Okay.
So when they're if they're writing or whatever, they can send him stuff. He can write lyrics. He's not playing one of the instruments, so he's doesn't necessarily have to be there to. They could rehearse without him.
Makes sense.
As long as you know what I'm saying. So and then also they're mostly famous because of he was famous in wrestling, so it's like a symbiotic relationship in a sense. You know what I mean? Sure. So it's like, that's where I could see it. But like if you're like I was playing guitar in the band, and so like you're writing the music too, and it's like, and then it's like if you love lifting as much as us, it's like. It was really hard to try. Like, I felt like I had to, like, pick one or the other, kind of,
Yeah. I mean, right now, even just thinking about the logistics of it, going to, driving to Seattle to the venue, setting up, if you're not the opener, setting up 2-3 hours before you're going on.
Yeah.
So then that's 2 meals you need to account for already.
Yeah, how are you going to keep your bodybuilding meals, dude?
So how are you going to get your meals? You're going to need to bring a cooler bag. Then you got to scarf down a meal in a bar before you go on. It's just, it's tough.
Yeah, a cold meal in a bag because you're trying to get your macro. You're like, you have your meal plan, you know, and then go back to the losing out on sleep thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then you know, they're gonna suffer from each other.
Yeah.
The food, man.
Yeah.
How much food you gotta eat.
Well, so I mean, I remember when we were recording the album, I was like, had just started with my coach, and it was kind of like the writing was already on the wall for me because I knew I was like, still in love with lifting.
Yeah.
And I was like, we were recording the album, and I had my like chicken and rice, and it was like the studio that we recorded in was owned by the Pearl Jam guitarist Stone Gossard.
Oh, cool.
But there was like a little kitchen in the back, and I'm like, oh, they have a microwave, so I'm eating my meals there and shit while we're recording. And I was like, yeah, I should have known that it was gonna end up, you know, how it ended up. But yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's just like lifting is a all-encompassing thing.
It is, man. The food especially, it really just kind of keeps you tied to your kitchen and your home.
Oh my God, meal preps every day.
Yeah. It's rough. And when you eat, you know, the quantity of food that we eat, it's not really logistical to cook an entire week's worth and have it in your fridge. You're cooking every couple of days.
Every couple of days at least.
Yeah. Just before we got here, we were both running late, so we had to go get $60 worth of sushi before we walked in the door.
Fuck yeah, though. You got to do that sometimes. I love sushi, yeah.
We eat a lot of sushi.
That's a good cheat meal, I feel like, because it doesn't... there's some stuff where if I have a cheat meal, it makes me feel like shit.
I don't think... It depends on what kind of sushi.
That's not even a cheat meal, is it? Yeah.
If you get just the nigiri, but
it's rice and fish.
It's rice and fish, man. It's still like basically, yeah.
That's not considered. I mean, even on prep.
Yeah.
You can fit some sushi in even on prep, huh?
On a refeed, yeah.
You're not going to be eating, you know, fried rolls or anything, but yeah, nigiri where it's just a strip of fish on top of a little ball of rice.
That's fine.
That's what you're gonna eat anyway, right?
You know, so that for the people watching, we should actually like. So you're talking about prep. You should like, if you want, go through like, basically explain the process of bodybuilding. It's a process where you're going into a calorie surplus and you're trying to gain size and muscle, and then certain amount of weeks out before a show, you slowly start decreasing your calories and
deficit.
Talk about talk about the prep, the deficit, all that stuff.
Talk about the deficit, young man.
So
then you're adding more cardio in, like.
Yeah, essentially what you're talking about is you have your off season, which is where you're in a calorie surplus ideally, and you know, training hard, eating lots of food, trying to grow, and usually 12 to 16 weeks before a show is when you start prep.
Okay.
And basically all that means is you get into a calorie deficit, hit certain macros, and start shedding body fat.
And then a lot of times adding like cardio, depending.
So it's good to sort of leave variables in the tank for later in prep. You're not gonna plateau in the first few weeks, right? So it's gonna be pretty simple to initially start losing fat. So it's good to have something to play with and increase later on when that starts to slow
Which is
down.
the cardio variable?
Which is cardio.
Okay.
You can add cardio or you can take away food or a combination of both.
Yep.
Ideally.
I could probably get away this year with no cardio. Just
food.
I'm under 10. I'm probably...
you stay pretty lean. That's why you don't want to go overboard on your bulk, right? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, the more body fat you have to lose, the harder it will be to lose all that in 12 to 16 weeks and maintain your size. So if it's just a little bit to chip away at slowly, you're much more likely to hold on to all your muscle mass.
Or from 6 meals go to 10 meals and do the same amount of calories, but you'll still go on a deficit because you split them out far enough.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Just like a log on a fire.
Yep, it burns slower than,
But if you chop that same log up and you put it on the fire every
smaller
2 hours,
pieces will burn faster.
It's going to get hotter and hotter, right? So your metabolism starts taking off when you're on a prep too, so you got to be careful because you're going to be burning more calories than you're taking in.
And then is there a point in the prep where you can get in such a low calorie that you kind of fuck your metabolism up and kind of hit a plateau? Or
I did that on my prep.
Yeah.
100%.
Because I did a show. I was going to do the Emerald Cup and they shut it down.
Yep.
For COVID.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this was last year.
So I reverse dieted.
To get back to kind of where you were.
And then I was going to do another show. and then they canceled that, so I reverse dieted a little bit. So
and reverse diet is when you're in a deficit and you go back to where you were before, but slowly. You don't just throw it all back at once, right?
So I was on a 7-month prep before I got to Reno.
Okay.
And so I was pretty flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lost even a little bit of mass.
Yeah.
Because I was on a prep for so long.
Well, that's the hardest part about prep, right? You're still going to be lifting extremely. You're going to, what's the word? Sorry. Intense is just as intense because you're trying to keep what muscle you can, right? You're not going to be gaining muscle during that time, but you want to try to signal to your body to keep what it's got, right?
Yeah.
And the conditioning of your architecture.
Yes.
Throwing in more movements that you wouldn't do day to day, like some different kind of rear delt exercises, or
they're gonna help stuff pop, kind of
elongation of your biceps, and then there's posing practice.
And is that just because of that's because of the show? Those are the kind of muscles that you're gonna want to like.
You want those little refined muscles to get a little bit bigger and more pronounced.
Yep.
So when you're doing a double back bicep, peak of your biceps, rear delts coming out.
Yep.
And there's nuances, and then I consider that cardio.
Yeah.
And you have to add some of those lifts in a little bit, or drop sets, giant sets, big sets, certain things like that.
Man, what's you guys' week look like right now? Did you already tell me that? Yeah, you did, I think.
The split?
Yeah.
Well, right now we're also not really...
It's pretty easy.
Because you're not worried about a show right now, right?
Yeah, so the
lifting, January.
The training itself is very, very intense.
But you're focused on the big things.
Yeah, the extra stuff like the cardio, the posing, that's less of a priority.
Right now.
We're just trying to maximize size.
Posing's cardio.
Posing is cardio, absolutely.
Yeah, posing's interesting. And how long have you been doing that? You've been doing shows since when?
I was 45.
Yeah.
44.
Okay, so a long time. Yeah.
Well, it was still only 4 shows,
but it's still cool that, like, I've seen some. I went to a show, and just to see, like, the different age ranges they have, like, you could still be doing it for another 10, 15 years if you want.
Yeah, but I do open.
Which is cool. You know.
You can't get... I know it's...
So what's open? I guess I don't know.
I have no delusions of grandeur, but to go to nationals and go pro...
Yeah.
I can't do the old man class. You can't go to get your pro card that way. So I got to do... open with all the kids.
Oh, so you're in the same age group as like everybody else. Yeah.
So
which
open,
is even harder.
Yeah, open basically just means you're competing with everybody, any age group.
I've placed well enough in the past. I think if I might have a shot.
Yeah. Well, fuck yeah, dude. You gotta do. We were just talking about that yesterday with that musician. Like the idea that like people put all these limitations on themselves based on like society,
their age.
You know what I'm saying? Like and age and stuff. And it's like, it's really just kind of like we were talking about before with the genetic thing, where it's like some of that is just like an excuse because like your buddies are all giving up, so then you give up, you feel fine because well, I'm the same age as them. We just go, play golf, and it's like, yeah, but like you could be doing this other thing that you're still passionate about, but you've given up on. Yeah. But you think that age or like, well, everybody else is doing it that way. Well, it's like, but that doesn't mean you have to. You know what I mean? Like,
do you guys think how much do you guys think it matters to have that initial self-belief? Like, do you think success comes as a direct result of having the self-belief, or do you think the self-belief comes as a result of the success?
I think you got to be borderline delusional to have success.
I agree.
Yeah. I think if you don't fucking believe, even if you saw somebody's like, you're a fucking, like, when I said I wanted to be a professional wrestler, like, nobody took me serious. I remember one of my dads, was like probably in 8th grade, and one of my dad's really good friends, his name was Mark. Like, you know, my parents didn't take me serious. Nobody did. But, like, one of my dad's really good friends was like, oh, you want to be a pro wrestler? And, like, this, like, the internet was kind of new, I think, at the time. And he, like, took the time out and, like, found a bunch of wrestling schools and printed out all this information and, like, gave it to me. And, like, I do remember that, just, like, one person believing that you weren't just a delusional motherfucker. Like, that, like, spoke volumes to me. Like, he actually thinks he's taking me serious. And it was just, like, little things like that. And I think you just have to, even with music and stuff, I think you have to believe in yourself. And maybe somebody else watching is like, man, that guy's fucking delusional. But they're only going to say that until you, like, make it. You know what I mean? Like, They're only gonna say that until you do it, and then once you do it, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I guess fuck me,"
Guess not.
Yeah, it's just like they just I don't know. I think people just like to hate, hate on stuff and.
Yeah, I think that you.
I get some people that.
I mean, clearly there are people that are just straight up delusional. It's like, come on, bro. Like, you know what I mean? But like, I think you have to have some of it at least. But you have to back it up with work ethic and discipline and actually putting in the work.
Well, if you truly believe you're gonna get somewhere, then you are going to do everything that it requires to get there.
Yes.
If you don't have that belief, then, like you said, you're already putting limitations on yourself, and you're much less likely to do the hard stuff you need to do.
Because you don't. Well, and if you have a belief that you're going to become successful, but you don't put in the work, that's probably when you're the delusional person.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I'm going to do this. Like, you're not doing anything towards that goal. Yeah. But I mean, good luck with that, bro.
Yeah.
Then it's just lip service. Basically, they're just trying to. So yeah, I believe you have to. And I would have never been able to do pro wrestling if I would have listened to like society or the status quo of like, oh, well, you can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, fuck that. I am going to do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I think that's necessary, man. I mean, you probably wouldn't even get to like certain levels of weights that you're lifting if you would have put a limitation in your mind like, that's too much weight. I'll never be able to lift that.
Yeah, in fact, this is actually especially a big deal when I was powerlifting, but like let's say you're trying for a new 1 rep max. The second you question whether or not you can lift it, it becomes exponentially harder.
Yeah.
One of the things that I would always do before getting on the platform would just be to envision myself successfully lifting it over and over and over.
I think it's so important.
It's like rehearsing it in your brain, and then you just got to go do what you've been doing in your head.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that that's ridiculous or that science doesn't back that up in any way, because they do studies on that kind of stuff of like visualization. Like they do that thing where like, mice do like they do a maze or whatever, and then they monitor the mice while they're sleeping, and it turns out their brain is like at a higher rate going through the maze and figuring out stuff as they sleep. So it's almost like sleep is like, and I think they did that with like people do it that were like skiers, but they were doing it like this. A ski game actually helped the real ski. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going through the pattern. Like, so if you're visualizing yourself doing it, it's like your nervous system rehearsing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't think that's voodoo. I think that's not woo-woo, I guess. It's like, there's definitely science behind that.
Manifestation. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, a big part of training is just teaching your nervous system, teaching your brain to be better at firing your nerve endings to do the thing.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you'd be able to do that inside your brain to an extent.
Yeah, you're rehearsing it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's real, man. I definitely think that.
Yes, the other night I was leg pressing in my sleep on accident.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think your body probably goes through it while it's sleeping. It's the same way like you play guitar. You ever like you're learning a guitar riff, and you play it a bunch, and it's not quite where it's at, and then the next day you wake up and do it, and it's there.
It's amazing
because your brain went through it a million times in your sleep. Probably.
It's amazing how you guys' brains are able to do that. I couldn't carry a tune in a wheelbarrow.
Did you ever write a song in your sleep?
I don't know about that. No.
A couple of times I don't know if you could say in my sleep, but
I think they got better.
Yeah, sort of in a dream state or sort of half asleep. You think of
I problem solve in my sleep all the time.
You think of a riff or a lyric line, and then when you get out of bed, you already know how to play it. Like
it's there.
You can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of can relate to that. Where I could be like driving in my car and be thinking of the song, and then work it out, and then like even then after you do go to sleep, then the next day it's a little better because your brain was like working with it kind of. Yeah.
100%.
I did a lot of the writing in the car for whatever reason because I could like put on the tracks that we would like, we would just record like just in the studio, just on my phone. I'd record them and I could just play. Yeah, a scratch track, and then I could just play it, and then I would just be fucking singing in the car.
So when we start posing practice, we should have them come by and just watch a puddle of sweat happen within. Yeah.
Posing's really intense,
30 minutes.
It's tough. Yeah.
It's harder than lifting weights, bro.
Well, because you're
contracting your muscles.
Contracting, and you're pulling things in, and you're
all at the same time.
All at the same time.
The hardest thing is for every
tearing your floor.
For every pose, like let's take a side chest for example. it's meant to showcase your chest and your arm and your shoulder, but you're flexing everything else too.
And you still need to peak your calf all at the same time, right?
Jesus Christ.
Because
you're getting judged on everything.
And your hamstring pushed into your knee, so it pushes out, and then that'll flex your quad. And,
Man, I can't even imagine. I mean, I've seen a couple coaches that are doing it quite regularly. Like one is with the bikini contest girls, and then my coach does it with all the bodybuilders. It's like,
you just turned into a pretty good coach as Amanda.
I know, man. So Amanda's your girlfriend, right? Yeah. You guys aren't married. So Amanda was a coworker of mine in a bar, and so she's your girlfriend. So that's kind of a way that we know each other, sort of. But
she's turned into a pretty darn good posing coach.
Well, and you know what's really cool about that is, like, I started with her. We're both working in this bar, and now, like, she's really changed her life doing something she's much more passionate about. 180. Yeah, because, I mean, nothing against working in a bar, but...
She's never been in a gym. And she went with me one day. She was hooked.
And she was a good bartender, too, yeah.
Amanda's really good friends with Neil, and he wrote a program for her. And she's been working out and training almost every single day for the last 2.5 years. Got her NASM certification.
Yeah, she was telling me about it because, like, I'm trying to take it too, and she's like, "You need to listen." I'm like procrastinating. She's like, "You need to study this." She
studies every night, posing and everything. Still to this day, I mean, she's on her phone. I go to bed like at 8 sometimes, so she's up till, because she was a bartender, she's up till like 11.
Yep.
Anytime I go out and.
Well, she's still bartending too, huh?
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say she.
Boxing.
Yeah, she works at that boxing club, but I was gonna say she was a good bartender too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
That's how I met her.
Yep. Yeah, we worked at Dub Pub. I don't know if you guys remember Dub Pub.
Oh yeah, I remember Dub Pub.
Yeah.
Dude, Dub Pub was cool actually. I loved that place. They'd have every UFC pay-per-view and like, so it was kind of fun to work there because you get to see those for free and.
That's cool.
Yeah, man, I missed that.
That's where I first met Chad Eaton.
Okay.
Before I started training him, yeah. And then he saw me at one other bar. I go to bars to study certain things in physics and stuff I'd have to know.
Yeah.
And you know who Chad Eaton is?
No.
For Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, no shit.
7-foot wall.
Okay. And he was at Dub Pub?
Oh, yeah, he's a big partier, but we ended up seeing each other a lot, and I was always just studying, and I was drinking iced tea.
Okay,
he's like,
nice.
Bro, I got like 6 women over here, and you're not even. This was before I met Amanda, but I would study a lot at night. And then he saw me. He didn't even know I worked out. I saw him at Gold's Gym, and I was just like right before a prep, and he's like, "You got to be kidding me."
Because you were
pretty
lean as
jacked
fuck.
at the time, yeah,
lean as fuck before prep, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so I ended up training him for a little bit, but helping him out.
Oh, that's cool, man. You know, it's funny. I just see we're all rubbing our knees.
He's a good guy.
Fucking, they're always sore if you sit.
Chad Eaton's a good guy.
No, that's cool, man. Yeah, I'll look him up after this, actually. No, that's super interesting. Yeah, it's cool that Amanda has her journey from, like, bartender to what she's doing now. And, anytime I post anything, she'll be like, "Oh, yeah, your back's gotten white." Like, she'll give me actual, like, honest criticism of, like, like, she's like, "I can see that your back's actually gotten wider." Or she'll, yeah, she seems like she's pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah, she's come a long ways. What's she doing at bench press today?
105?
105 for reps.
Yeah, that's badass.
Yeah. Do one last good topic since we were just talking about gyms. So you've been to, obviously, Eastside a whole bunch. And
yes.
How much do you think atmosphere in a gym plays a role?
I think it's huge.
Versus just equipment and exercises and whatnot.
I think atmosphere is huge.
Yeah.
Being around other people that are, like, working hard. Like, if you go to Eastside, everybody's working hard.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel like working hard.
Makes a big difference.
I think atmosphere is huge, but I also think it's like, I think gyms where people work hard, sometimes people get these that have not ever lifted before, get these impressions that it's going to be scary, Mm-hmm. I've had, like, coworkers talk about wanting to go join a gym. They're, like, scared, and it's like, I don't think you realize that, like, the people that are in a gym, like even you're like 260 pounds, started as a 130-pound little skinny guy that never, you know what I mean? I think that everybody in the gym has had a journey to get where they are, and I think they're very open to anybody of any shape, size, different type of person. It's not a closed-minded, you know what I mean? I think they get scared of it, and it's like...
Well, there's that stereotype, like you said, meathead, stupid. It kind of goes along the same line. They see somebody like Neil when they walk in the gym. I'm not working out here.
Yeah.
Turn around and go the other direction like he's gonna
monster or something.
Scary.
Yeah, it's just
like a primordial response to it.
Yeah. It's funny because I think that actually those sort of quote unquote hardcore gyms like Eastside, for example, it's very well equipped for powerlifters and hardworking people. I think those gyms are some of the most inclusive gyms you can choose.
I think so too.
Absolutely, and then it's the commercial gyms like.
I don't like going to the commercial ones to talk about atmosphere, like LA Fitness and shit. Like I don't want to go there.
You'll see a lot more judgmental people at Planet Fitness, ironically, than you will at.
That's the worst one of all.
Yeah.
And it's like no judging is their whole thing, but that's
what
exactly what they do.
Yeah.
They got a great gimmick though, $10 a month, and they'll never see their clients. They'll never see their.
Well, yeah, they're targeting a specific person that doesn't actually want to get in shape.
Well, it's kind of brilliant. Really.
It's brilliant. They're like, they're like, we're not going to judge you for not being in shape. It's like, well,
one of their gym has 10,000 members at $10 a month.
Yeah.
But they never go there.
Yeah, that's a brilliant business model, right? You get those memberships up, nobody comes.
Yeah.
I think that's almost every gym though too.
Pretty much every commercial gym's banks on
memberships, but people not showing up.
Large percentage, yeah, for sure.
The building itself, per fire code, can only hold let's just say
like if everybody with a membership ever showed up at once, they'd be fucked.
Yeah,
it couldn't happen.
They'd have to have a line out the door and wait for them to go in. So I'd say the big box gyms more. Everybody's got some memberships, right? I get it for their overhead and to keep things moving. But when you get into the smaller gyms, they can have a core group of people that are going to work out there for 20 years and charge $300 a month and still be all right.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that nowadays with social media and how anybody can say, anybody can share their experience with any business, it's going to become increasingly difficult to have that business model where you treat your customers badly,
I think so too, yeah.
Because your reputation is going to spread, and like Jarrod said, people will pay more for a good experience and to actually be treated well.
Like Gold's Gym in Kirkland's a really good example of treating your employees and your clients very badly. Did I just say that on?
That's okay. We can cut it out if you want.
No, that's all right.
We'll leave it in.
I don't want to.
We'll leave it in. Fuck them. No, I don't know. I've never gone there. Yeah, I mean, I think gyms are going to get that. I think Eastside's great. I think Lonnie's a really cool guy.
Very much,
with the pro wrestling thing, every time I go in there, he'll just talk to me about it because he's knows all the shit. He knows all the old school guys. I'm like, you know all these fucking guys? Yeah, he knows all that shit, man.
The cool thing about that
Lonnie and I go back 30 years.
Yeah.
The cool thing about that is Lonnie finds things like that with everybody to connect with about.
That's so cool.
And he doesn't, as he doesn't have any kind of system for signing in when you enter the gym. It's all from memory. He just recognizes the faces of his customers, which is
that's unreal. Pretty cool, man. That's a cool guy, and now he was really big back in his day too, wasn't he? I mean, that's all he knows of pro wrestling stuff because they were all partying and juiced up and fucking doing crazy shit.
He was squatting 800 pounds when he was, I think, under
22.
Under 20, 18, 19.
Oh, was it? I thought he was 22, but yeah.
God damn. I want to see a picture.
I think he retired at 22, maybe.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he retired early and he just never looked back, did he? Yeah. He doesn't really care about trying to...
Got some injuries.
He hurt himself pretty bad.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think he seems very comfortable with himself. He doesn't seem like he cares. You know what I mean? He's always like, oh, whatever you want to do,
I think that his gym is his baby now, so that's kind of what he's put the same kind of passion into it, for sure.
Okay. Well, he does a really good job, I think.
Yeah.
Agreed. That's probably one of the first gyms I worked out here that I really liked because, they had all the squat racks and stuff. You never had to wait if you were going to do deadlifts. You didn't have to wait. You never had if you did deadlifts, some old lady looking at you like you just fucking killed a baby because you dropped the weights, Like there's a place in hell for those ladies, those old ladies that hate deadlifts.
For sure.
God. They're always just it's you realize how much weight this is. It's going to make noise.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
They get super offended.
Or are you doing rack deads or rack pulls and slamming what for you, like 700, 800 pounds onto the metal bar.
Yeah, do you guys like rack pulls? I just started doing them with my coach because I've never done them before, and it's like...
It'll help you get thick.
Yeah, I really do like doing them. I'm always like wanting to do deadlifts, but I can do so much more on rack pulls, and I'm probably getting more out of them, really.
Your medials to your traps holding up the weight alone is pretty visceral.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and I'm like 6'4", so like...
Wow, yeah, so I think they're really good for everybody, but especially anybody over 6 feet.
Yeah, I think they've been...
You're going to get a lot out of shortening that range of motion a little bit.
You going above the knee or below the knee?
Just like right below.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Not much below, just like, it's just,
That's a regular dead for an average guy.
Yeah.
Tight, 6'4", you got a lot more to deal with.
Well, yeah, that's like...
your form and how far you're pushing stuff, how far you're pulling stuff.
Yeah, that's like my best friend, Steve, growing up. He was a shorter guy, but we started lifting together, like, and he could just fucking deadlift, because he's so short. Dude, he would deadlift, like, I don't even remember how much, but it was, like, nothing to him. He's just, like, same with bench, because he was just a short, really,
he's going
like...
this far, you're going this far.
Yeah, but it was good to lift with him, because it, motivated me to try to be stronger. You got to keep up with him, but... Yeah.
I had a buddy, Bob Ruffcorn, he was 5'5", built, like, when we were in high school, and he was... repping 315 on bench, all that stuff.
Already in high school.
When I'm like doing 90-pound bench press, maybe one plate on the squats for like 1 or 2 or 3 reps, and I was like really weak when I was like younger. I didn't start shaving until I was like 30.
Yeah.
I grew like I think an inch or 2 in my 20s, and took me a long time to bloom. But sometimes there's those guys that are just.
But you gotta be
short,
looking.
Wide.
Oh yeah, fuck.
Shaving twice a day already, and they're in high school.
It's crazy. You gotta be looking now at like, people that like started lifting, had their lifting career, quit lifting, like happened through your lifting career, like numerous.
Full circle.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're still doing like I think that
my high school reunion was really really weird.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It was the glory days, or in high school, and I'm just looking at them. I'm like, man, I was just a kid.
Aren't you glad you're not one of those guys though?
Oh, man.
That's like still like all your glory days rest on something you did like 30, 40 years ago, and you're not doing anything right now that you're like, in the moment or passionate about. Like you're still just like, I think that'd be the saddest life to have.
In my day.
Yeah, just that's like I've never wanted to do that. I've always wanted to stay like whatever I'm doing now, I want to focus on that.
Yeah. How old are you? 36?
I'm 36, yeah. Because I'll even go back and talk about the wrestling or the bands I've been in and stuff, and I love it, but I don't want to like...
You're moving forward.
Yeah, I want to be focused on what I'm doing now more than that. And I'll always talk about those things because I love them and I'm proud of them, but like I don't want to get stuck being like, man, I wish I was still doing that, like...
Yeah, get a lot of people talking about I used to be able to do this. What's really weird is when you find people in the gym that say, wait till you're my age, you won't be able to lift that anymore, and I'm 15 years old.
Oh, yeah? They tell you that shit?
That's
got to feel pretty good, honestly.
Somebody that's just seen me, and they're like, I used to be able to do that until I hurt myself. Wait till you get to my age, and they're like 40, and I'm already 50.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay. You're like, all right, bro. Yeah.
You almost feel awkward about it.
I just feel like, you're right. I just tell them, yeah, you're right.
You're like, maybe when you get to my age, you'll be able to lift again.
Yeah.
Well, that's
get that mindset. Maybe you can turn everything around for yourself.
Did you ever take a very long break from it, though?
When I was maybe 2 whole years.
Okay, so you did take 2 years off of...
I lifted, but I was
okay, but still, I was going to say, I had just listened to this, it's Andrew Huberman podcast, and he had this guy, Robert Sapolsky, on, who I really like. He's this guy that, like, studied baboons and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he studying baboons to study humans, in a sense. Like, the idea is, like... analog. Yeah, so, like, baboons are, like, they get their food for the day in, like, a short window. Like, everything they need is done in 4 hours. So, like, after that, they just torture each other just like we do. So that's our main problem. Like, if we were busy trying to get food, we wouldn't have time to, like, be on Twitter calling each other, out on politics and shit because we'd be trying to survive.
Wake up to not die.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, he studied baboons. They do a similar thing. But he was on this guy's podcast recently, and he was talking about, like, testosterone and like basically the idea that like it's better to, and this goes with like lifting, like it's actually harder if you take a long period off and then later in life try to like, say you way later in life you hop on TRT, or way later in life you try to start lifting and you haven't been for years.
That's a tough
He said trying to re-stoke the fire is like almost impossible. And it's the same with women with like trying to take estrogen. They should almost start taking it sooner before menopause and stuff, because like trying to reignite like the fire, he's like, it's trying to start a fire off like dead coals, you know. That's what he's saying. I could
not agree with you more.
So he's like, if you keep lifting, you're not going to lose it. So like these guys are younger than you saying, oh, wait till you're my age, but it's like you just never stopped doing it. That's why you're still able to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, we're talking working out 2 days a week instead of 4 to 6, and not very hard. But I was running a lot, swimming a lot, biking a lot, stuff like that. But,
did you lose a lot of weight when you did all that stuff? Get a lot leaner when you were doing the triathlon stuff?
Well, I didn't start putting on weight till I was 40. So
okay, so this was before.
I was 168 pounds.
So the triathlon stuff was all before kind of putting on size.
Putting on size.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
But I've been lifting weights all the way through my 20s. I was just still a kid. I mean, I don't think I hit puberty till I was 28. But I had a good. I like talked to Lonnie about it. He's known me since I was a kid. So he's like, hey, he wasn't big, but he had a good structure to him. You know, but I didn't. Like, what am I, 220 right now? So that's 50 pounds ago.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm a little bit leaner. Well, no, wait. When I was doing that at 168, I was hovering around 5%. But yeah.
That's impressive as fuck too. Yeah. I mean, I think doing those triathlons is crazy.
That's wild.
So you get to, I don't know, when I was 38, 39, it's just 190, but a little bit fatter. I've gotten up to 220 before my first show when I was 45, but I was 18%.
You didn't want to look like that.
No, and it was.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with bulking. Yeah, I don't want to get too like. Yeah, it's like.
You got to find that balance, or you're gonna feel like shit. You're gonna feel like crap.
It just, I don't feel like you can like gain muscle as well either when your fat level gets too high.
It's true. Your sensitivity goes down. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you just.
So I think you're right. Trying to find that magic, like, that's the spot.
When people ask, I would say if you can see your abs pretty well.
Yep.
You're good.
Stay around there.
At night, after you've drank water all day. Not in the morning, at night. You know, if you can still kind of see your abs, ab wall, and you're looking pretty good. But you don't need to have the body fat test or hydrostatic or mass spectrometer.
Just kind of eyeball it, yeah.
And
that's what I do check-ins.
And how you feel, and you know, I can tell exactly where he's at just because I know his body so well after putting him through a show.
Yep.
By just pinching him right here.
You're like, yeah, he's about
right about where he's at.
Okay,
yeah. You're good.
Yeah,
270. I'm like, really? You're 270? Uh-huh. And you're still hovering around 12%. So sweet.
So that's a good thing. Yeah, just keep going on that,
fine.
Man.
But we'll do mini preps just to feel better.
Do you do that regularly during your bulk, during your off season? Just kind of do a couple, because sometimes I feel like it'd be really good for me once in a while, just for a couple week cut back and go into deficit a little bit, and then start bulking again. Because I don't like when I get too.
You'll feel better. It's good for metabolism. Resets yourself, and just good for your head.
You'll come back way hungrier too. Like if you hit an appetite wall.
Yes.
You take 3-4 weeks in a deficit where your carbs are lower, especially, you'll be way hungrier. And
I think I need to start doing that while I'm bulking, because I feel like it like I said, mentally, physically, everything, it would help.
What are your calories at a day right now?
You know, I don't even know, honestly. I'd have to. I have my meal plan. I could show you my meal plan. Yeah. So if I've never
How many meals you get in a day?
So it's like 6 meals a day.
Yeah. So you're probably at 2,600. You're probably pretty low.
Well, I'm not sure right now because he's got it pretty high with like.
I guess I should know what kind of food it is. Huh?
Yeah, I'll show you sometime. Yeah, you can look at it. Yeah, it's probably kind of high right now. Yeah, when I was cutting, it was super low, but I felt really good. Actually,
you should be at 38 to your height.
Probably.
Yeah, you definitely got to eat more because you're tall.
Yeah.
What's your weight?
Right now I weigh like 227, 230. Yeah. But I started at 206.
Nice.
Like, that's how far he cut me down. When I started with my coach, I was 240 when I started with him. And I was just kind of like, working in the bar, and I was still
felt great when you.
Dude, I felt fucking better than I had in years. So that was the thing. I was in the band, really just unhappy because I had always been physical fit with wrestling. I'd always been in I'd got myself in really good shape, and I was used to being an athlete. You know what I mean? So by the time I'm in this band, I'm just starting to get, I'm still powerlifting regularly, doing lifting, still just as passionate, 4 or 5 days a week, and still working hard at it. But I'm not really watching what I eat as much as I should and stuff. And I was 260, then I kind of got myself down to 240 myself. And then I hired my coach, and then he got me down to 206, and I was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Wow.
And then I just fell back in love with it. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. I'm like, I don't care how old I am. I'm like, I want to do this. And then my brain starts thinking God, maybe in a year or so I could actually do a show. And then I'm
you're kind of in the same realm as me.
Yeah.
So,
but now I need to keep that fire going.
Imagine 14 years of training, right?
Yeah.
What you're gonna look like at 50.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm
wreck your 36-year-old.
So every time I want to give up on it, I tell myself no, that's how you're gonna ruin this.
Don't stop.
Look at what you've done in this last. I'm you're so much healthier. You're so much happier. Yeah, I definitely miss music, but this is more. I feel more good doing this. You know what I mean? And like you said, you can still do shows or I'll still record covers for fun. And put them out sometimes, just acoustic guitar and put them out on SoundCloud or whatever.
It's an amazing gift you guys have doing that. It's not,
I just think it's
jealous. I'm fascinated with it because I understand frequency and all that and harmonics, and it's the basis of a lot of the stuff I do. So it's interesting. You guys can just take that part of your brain and transfer it into a frequency.
When I was talking to that musician, when he was in here, he was saying some of that stuff is just innate in certain people, he said he was playing drums when he was a kid and it just came to him. And it's weird, I know so the dude that I live with, he watches girls on Twitch all the time and shit, so he's always watching musicians and shit.
Yeah.
And some of the,
I get the music and I understand the prime numbers involved and I love music.
Yeah, it's a
very
science,
much.
Right? Yeah.
But if you ask me to listen to somebody playing the guitar and you give me a guitar, I'd be like, I wouldn't even know which hand to use because I'm left and right-handed too, so I don't even know. Sometimes I grab the wrong, put a pencil in my right hand when I usually use my left. Sometimes because
you can do ambidextrous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's a guitar pick right here. Yeah, he played a couple songs. It was cool. He did that that Bradley Martin one from that movie. I've never seen it, but that Lady Gaga, there's one of the songs from, I don't know, it's the Star is Born movie.
Oh,
yeah. I never saw it either, but he played the one song, and it was, I saw Eddie Vedder do a cover of that same song on YouTube, and I'm like, that song is so fucking good.
Eddie Vedder, wow.
Yeah, dude. So
How old is he now?
Oh, he's got to be in his 50s. Yeah, I don't know.
Eddie Vedder? Oh, God, he's got to be in his late 60s.
Let's see.
Eddie Vedder, right? Eddie Vedder's...
Pearl Jam.
No, Eddie Vedder. Oh, Pearl Jam. I don't know what I was thinking there for a second. Of course, Eddie Vedder's.
Yeah, what is...
He's got to be late 50s.
The fuck? Wikipedia.
So I saw him in concert when I was a kid, and I knew he was older than me by a few years.
Yeah, what is he? Doesn't it tell me his age?
I was at Lollapalooza.
Oh, he's 56.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at Lollapalooza. It was in 92 with Eddie Vedder. So it was Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Nirvana.
Yeah. That's the shit. My favorite shit.
Alice in Chains, Rage Against the Machine.
Fuck.
They were all there.
One day during a workout, he just casually mentioned that he'd seen Nirvana and Pearl Jam.
And you're like, what?
At the Black Box, I'd see them all the time before they were famous.
Awesome.
Well, if you grew up around here, right?
Yeah.
So it's. But yeah, Eddie Vedder being 56, I love Metallica. James Hetfield's 59 or some shit, 58.
Yeah.
It's how the fuck,
I was thinking, you're talking Van Halen, you said Eddie, so I was like...
Oh, Eddie Van Halen,
Eddie
who
Van
just
Halen's
died.
got to be in his... He did?
Yeah, he passed away.
Oh, wow.
Which sucks. That guy was a fucking legend.
Yeah.
His son plays. He's really good. Wolfgang Van Halen.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, Wolfgang.
Nice.
And he's got his own band. Yeah, they're good. He's yeah. But yeah, man, it's so crazy. All as you get older, watching all these artists and stuff get older, and it's like, what? Like I'll tell my dad that, like, you know, he's like the same age as like James Hetfield, and like if he starts acting old, I'd be like, Dad, what's up? Like, James Hetfield just played a fucking fucking show, dude. He's killing it. What are you doing?
Like
Come on.
Bruce Springsteen, Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Phil Collins. I don't hear him singing much anymore, but he writes a lot of songs for pop stars, though.
I mean, I love all that shit. Springsteen, he's great.
He writes a lot of songs for pop stars as well.
He does? I did not know that. Yeah, I was trying to listen to like some of the new music because I just haven't, you know. So I was listening to like Drake and stuff like, like trying to hear, like, because I'm just trying to like, I get so stuck in the past. I want to try to like expand my.
Yeah, I have Drake radio just to kind of.
He's good.
I like that kind of music too.
Yeah.
A buddy that works out with us always makes fun of how old I am and like, do you know this song? Is this too old for you? I'm like, well, I don't know. I like all kinds of music.
You're like, shit, I actually like that one, yeah.
It's funny because my musical taste, I really like music from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. He was like...
So my tastes are even older than your tastes.
Well, I just like the Cars, Rico Kasich. I mean, he's brilliant. Like, he said he really likes the Cars. And I was like, well, man, that's one of my favorite groups.
I don't mind you coming here. Yeah, that's wasting all my time.
Yeah,
that shit's the shit. I remember our babysitter had a tape of the Cars, and we'd listen to that shit all the time. Like, fuck, the Cars are like, who even sounds like that guy? That Rico Kasich guy?
I was just
nobody.
I was just thinking about that earlier. When
like
I was
specific voice.
To Let's Go on Pandora.
That's what was great about the older artists, like 70s and stuff. They all had such a unique
voice.
Their voice was unique. Their guitar tone was unique.
Like Sting.
Like, yeah, it's like they had such style of their own because they just like they like we were talking with that musician the other day. They cut their teeth like in bars and shit. The same way like, you know, wrestlers, they get good by like playing, like wrestling at shitty shows for years in front of no one, and then by the time like they get to mainstream, it's like, why is he so fucking good? It's like, well, he just did this for like crowds of nobody for like 10 fucking years, and he's really good at it. Yeah. I mean, I think the same is true for lifting. If you went back to yourself when you started, you could teach yourself, you know, tell yourself to avoid so much shit that you did wrong, you know, like.
Definitely.
It probably only keeps getting better and better too, you know, like.
Yeah.
There's always more to learn, for sure.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, lots and lots of overtraining.
Mm-hmm. So what's your favorite music then?
I really like 60s blues and rock. I love Jimi Hendrix.
Oh yeah.
This isn't 60s, but I also love like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really into that just old school
blues shit,
strat, blues guitar kind of stuff.
Yeah, we listen to a lot of that at work. That is good shit. Yeah, there's so many
unique voices. Don Henley.
Yeah, I like the Eagles too.
And Don Henley, he was a lot of hits through the 80s after the Eagles split apart. Then they did the Hell Freezes Over tour.
Yeah.
They said they'd never get together, even if Hell Freezes Over when they split up. And then,
so that was what was
the then 15 years later, awesome. They did the Hell Freezes Over tour. That's where they got the name.
Man, I always liked Joe Walsh for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because he had a different style too. Like when he did his solo shit. Yeah.
He had a unique voice.
He was different, yeah. And he was like one of them old school guitar players too. Like no fucking pedals, no nothing.
Yeah, so when they're doing it in a New York Minute.
Yeah.
Don Henley has no kind of training in orchestra or symphonies and everything like that, and they had one of the best symphonies in the world, and Don Henley's in the room. I'm like, why is everybody? It was just flat, and he couldn't get him to do it right until they took the notes away. And I'm like, this is how I want you to feel about it.
So you got him that way.
Yeah, he got him that way to do the beginning of in a New York Minute with.
I mean, I think a lot of music's like that, right? Like.
Well, that goes back to science. You can read a note. I can read a note all day long, but I'm not going to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I mean, I think sometimes it's good to be studied and learn, like go to music school and all that, but there's something to be said for just like some of these people just have this thing they can just feel it. Yeah.
There's a gift in everything like that. You got to.
Mm-hmm.
You lay the groundwork, learning all the scales.
But it's funny watching it, like when the making of Hell Freezes Over.
You got to play it with feeling, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, man. It's like probably on our EP, my favorite guitar solo is like one where I mean, I love all of his guitar solos. The guitarist I had was like obsessed with Eddie Van Halen, so he's like super fucking good. But there was one song called "So Far Away," and he kind of winged the guitar solo more. He had the other ones really well planned out, but the one that he just kind of like almost improv some of it. That's my favorite one on the whole album because it's the most raw, you know, like. Yeah. And just like at the end, he lets the feedback kind of like kind of ring out and shit. It's really cool.
Guns N' Roses was like that. What's his name?
Slash. Well, that's the other. That's my guitarist's name was Shane, and he was obsessed with Slash and Eddie Van Halen. So
that's a good combo.
That's a great. If you're gonna have a guitarist, like that's who you want him to be obsessed with, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I love Slash, dude. Actually, Guns N' Roses have some new songs out that I think are pretty good.
Really? I haven't heard them.
Yeah, they put out like 2 new songs. I think they're gonna put out some more, but.
Cool.
They were fucking good because I love that. I love that shit. Yeah. Especially at the gym, I just put like a lot of rock music. Yeah, I don't know why it just pumps me up.
Yep.
Get in the zone and.
Rock's a good go-to for sure.
They didn't really have headphones in my era, so I never really got used to wearing them.
So you don't do it now either?
Not at the gym.
So I just have Lonnie's ghetto blaster.
Well, we train.
The boombox.
I always tell them I have enough voices in my head going on.
That's enough. You don't need any more. Yeah.
More voices in my head.
God damn. That's why you lift.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep those voices at bay, dude.
Screaming too loudly in my head. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, man. No, yeah, I think rock is. So the other girl that was here on the last podcast is Muay Thai fighter, and so she was saying that like, she's like, yeah, you probably sometimes I'll be training and people think I'm listening to some badass thing, but I'm listening to like some sad song and shit. I'm like, yeah. Sometimes like you put something on, you're like, I don't want anybody to know I'm listening to this one. Yeah.
Yeah, you're shuffling through either a playlist or maybe your Spotify's just shuffling or something, and you start a set, and after you start the set, some really downer song.
Oh fuck that!
You just gotta roll with it.
Yeah, it was like, hey, what are you gonna do? Yeah.
I guess I'm lifting to this.
That's just one added dimension I don't need in my training.
You don't
at
like
this
the
point in my life.
See, I like the music thing. Like it'll really like I can just kind of like I'll start getting like the beat will like I'll get myself kind of pumped up and I
get the point.
I didn't used to do it at all when headphones used to have the cords like this. I never wore headphones in the gym.
Bluetooth.
But now that they got those fucking the iPod, what are the AirPods, dude? I love wearing headphones in the gym now.
Yeah. Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Short burst RF.
Yeah, there's probably better ones, but yeah, I just have the AirPods.
That's what James has. That's what you have now too, right? Do you have AirPods?
No, I would never get AirPods just because I would lose them for sure.
Yeah, they fall out.
Yeah, man. I can't.
I've had to catch mine. Like at Eastside, Lonnie's sink has like there's nothing in the hole.
Yeah.
And I've had it like I've been like
that's
putting my mask on or. Yeah, I put my mask on or something, and the earbud falls, and I'm like, no. And I catch it quick before it goes, because that thing's wide fucking out. It would fall right down there.
Oh, be in the pipe for sure,
yeah. That's funny.
Too funny.
Yeah, that's a great gym.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing about Ironworks is it's definitely set up like a bodybuilder gym.
Well, I need to go there. That sounds like a cool gym, too.
Between the two, though, and they're close. It kind of covers everything for us now.
Yeah.
So those are your two go-tos?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. 2 go-to gyms.
They got the right kind of hack squat sled.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, we were talking about that Shane Gillis thing. I watched that.
Yeah.
That was so fucking funny. I don't know if you've seen it.
Shane?
It's a stand-up
Stand-up comedian.
Oh.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, he had some really good jokes on there.
Really solid. Yeah.
Where do you guys get the stuff off of?
That's on YouTube.
Yeah, that one's just on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth the watch. He had some very funny jokes that you couldn't say on Netflix, probably.
Yeah.
Talking about having a Fox News dad and shit. Like, that was so funny.
A little more controversial, yeah.
A little more country. He's like, yeah, you want a Fox News dad, He's like...
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and just like, he had the one about John Cena that was my favorite, like... Yeah. Like how John Cena is like the angel of death to like special needs kids. Because like John Cena does more Make-A-Wish than anybody. But the joke being like, if you're like a special needs kid and you see John Cena coming, you're close to death. So like you don't want to see John Cena, yeah.
Turn
Got
to
it.
run away.
Yeah, like if you ever see John Cena run away, he was like telling the kids that, like.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, so fucking funny. Which, not to take away anything John Cena does, because it's pretty badass. But yeah, that's fucking hilarious
it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's just a joke. Right. Take the joke as a joke.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's hard to do that now sometimes, but.
Yep.
No, that was a funny one, man.
For sure.
But so what's on the agenda for the rest of the night?
Not much.
Eat, sleep,
rest up for the next training session.
And what's tomorrow?
Day off.
Resting tomorrow.
Rest day, nice.
Yeah.
So what's you
Best
guys?
day of the week to not train is Mondays.
Okay, yeah, I got my
Monday.
rest day was today, so. What is you guys' meal plans and stuff looking like right now? What do you guys like to do? I mean, obviously, like you said, you can fit some sushi in and stuff, especially when you're, in a gaining phase.
Just basic food.
It's all basic stuff, right?
Basic protein. Protein to carb ratio,
I do 5 big meals a day, 1 big shake.
Yep.
All roughly 700 to 900 calories each.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot of calories. You just feel like shit at the end of the day, just like.
I'm not hitting that. No. I'm more like 5 or 6.
Yeah. Do you feel like when you're bulking like that, do you just feel so full at the end of the day?
Sometimes it's rough. Some days it's harder than others.
Try to take what do you do when you're like, do you do much like relaxing then too? Like I feel like sometimes you got to take naps or like, or is your day so full that like?
It depends. Most days are.
I sleep almost every day in the middle of the day for like 20 or 30 minutes.
I was gonna say I feel like a good nap once in a while is good, especially and then sleep at night. Obviously, if you're bodybuilding.
I train mostly at night. If I can get a nap in and then a meal and then an hour later train.
That's the best.
Everything. My central nervous system is ready to knock the shit out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's all about is recovery.
Well, like you said, it's all recovery and diet and sleep is like the majority of lifting, right? Yeah, and people don't realize that. Like, I think they see they see us in what we do in the gym, and they think that's what it is, and it's just one part of it, right?
Small part of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, it's a big part, but also a small part.
Hell yeah. So do you guys want to let's see. Do you guys want to share your Instagram or anything, or like share your band again, and then we can wrap this thing up? Yeah.
So my Instagram handle is Big Freaking Neil, no underscores or nothing. And yeah, I post some lifting videos there. You can also check out my website, which is just bigfreakingneil.com. I got a little bit of merch, contact form to inquire about any coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about it.
Hell yeah.
I don't even have an Instagram.
You're not into that shit. Yeah. So I'll link that and everything. But yeah, thank you guys for coming. I think that was a lot of good information about bodybuilding and stuff. And
absolutely, man.
Definitely have you guys back on again sometime.
Cool. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Cool, man. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.